watching on the website, welcome and thank you for showing up here. This evening we were to have Mr. Teo Dill from the Bermuda College come speak to us. He's a recruitment officer. I'm hoping he'll show up, so we'll change around the agenda a little bit. I'm not sure if anyone from the office is here to discuss any principal's remarks. No? Okay, this could be a really quick meeting, guys. Woo! So our executive report, as you can see, this meeting is being taped to be uploaded to the school's new website, which is www.berkeleybda.com. So the members that truly can't be in attendance because they work, they have small children, or for whatever reason they can't come to a PTA meeting each month, they will still have access to the information. This is the pilot, so we're going to see how it turns out. We're going to see how many people actually visit the website. We want to keep track of how many people view the video. Because for us to be accredited with the Middle State School, we have to increase our parental involvement to 80% by 2020. So given the social media age that we're now in, we thought, well, let's hit them on the web. Let's see if we can get parents to attend virtually. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. This is, as I said, is the initial one. If it's a success and parents do view it online, then it will be something that will continue next year and hopefully the years following as well. So if you have friends that aren't in attendance this evening, definitely mention to them that after 12 o'clock tomorrow noon, that they'll be able to go to www.berkeleybda.com and click on May 4th PTSA meeting, and they'll be able to see us. They're just going to see the backs of your heads. I don't know why I'm nervous this evening. I talk in front of you guys every month, but having that camera on makes me a little nervous. So yeah, if you can support it and make sure that your friends and family and co-workers that have Berkeley children support it as well. I think it'll be a good way for our parents that truly can't make it to the meetings to be able to stay informed. We also have a reminder to our S4 students that the applications for the PTSA scholarships are available in student services, and the deadline for them to complete that is May the 29th. And as I said in the last meeting last month, we did raise a good amount of money, so the scholarships will be a fair amount, so it's definitely something to take the time to fill out the application. Also, as mentioned last month, a Berkeleyite from the class of 2014, Ms. Keontae Roberts, is looking to raise funds to attend a talent showcase held in Orlando in July. She had to audition for this placement, and she's an amazing singer. I don't know if you've attended any of the things at Berkeley over the past few years, but when she sings, it's quite an amazing experience. She's going to be holding a bake sale and a car wash this Saturday at Butterfield and Vallis on Woodlands Road. And if any of your students are still needing to get community hours, our S1s through to S3, if they want to give us an hour, I will double it so they can get 2 hours. If they want to give me 2, I'll give them 4. And if there's any bakers in the audience, if you could help her out by baking a couple of goodies to support this young lady in reaching her goal and her dream of being a singer. That would be great. You can see me after the meeting. Still don't see our speaker. Our meeting numbers. Ooh, last month was the lowest we've had this year. We only had 43 parents out. I'm hoping by the time the meeting ends and everyone signs in, there'll be more than 43 parents in the room this evening. But again, given that it's going to be online, every time someone clicks and watches the video and makes a comment on the video, we'll be able to count them as attending the meeting as well. So I know it's the end of the school year. Parents, we're just exhausted. I know that. I am. All the meetings you have to attend, all the extra things. But I do appreciate you being out this evening. I would like to take this opportunity, given our speaker isn't here yet, to thank everyone for your support throughout the year. This is the last general meeting of the PTSA. We don't hold one in June. But your attendance and your emails and your comments and your questions and your concerns really does support your executive in ensuring that the PTSA is for you and supports you. So thank you so much for coming out each month and supporting the PTA.
Mrs. Moran, in the absence of Mr. Dill, if parents have questions about the dual enrollment program, Mr. Burgess is willing to answer.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. So I just want to say at this time, have a wonderful rest of the year. It's almost over. The exams are coming up. Our little babies will be stressed. And we'll be stressed right along with them. But I'm sure that the principal will touch base on the exams. But as a parent, you know, getting them to turn off the cell phone at a little bit earlier time tonight, given that there's GCSE exams starting tomorrow, making sure they have a little something to eat before they leave the house or eat on their way to school. And, you know, just give them the love and support that they deserve during this very stressful time. Yes?
One quick question. In relation to viewing online, PTSA, you said that we would have to view and comment before it can register?
I don't think you have to comment for it to register. I think it's just a view, but there is the ability for the parents that are not able to attend to comment, to post any questions, any concerns they may have, and the executive will have access to that and be able to address them, whether personally through an email or at the next general meeting. So I don't think you have to comment to make it register, but you do have to watch it. Okay? I did see our speaker come in the room, so I'm going to stop my executive comments and welcome to the front of the room our speaker, Mr. Teo Dill, from the Bermuda College. If you can give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the kind welcome, and I apologize for my tardiness. I am a committed, lifelong, devoted pedestrian, so I am consistently surprised by rush hour. Because I'm never in control of the vehicle. So, yeah, it's always surprising. So I'm grateful for you, Grace. What I'm hoping to communicate this evening, and before I start, if at any point there's anything that you'd like me to clarify, or if you have a question that's completely disconnected from what I'm talking about, that's cool. Just let me know, and we can discuss it. But what I'm hoping to clarify and just lay out is the accessibility of the Bermuda College and the value of Bermuda College. Why it matters, how it works, and what we're for. What is your general understanding of the college? Like, how do you feel when you think about it? It's not a rhetorical question, like, seriously. Like anybody. Yes.
I think for me, it's come a long way. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
From even when it was up at the Globe National Stadium location.
Right.
Even when you talk about accessibility, I mean, physically, when I was coming from Somerset, going to the college, it was a nightmare to get there, and the teacher's not there to teach the one class that I had that day. So even in that respect, it's come a long way.
I'm glad. I'm glad. That must have been infuriating.
Yeah, very infuriating. In the rain on the bus, get that. So, but even then, from an impression point of view, I have not been in college for years. The accreditation, the standards that they set, seem to have improved monumentally even from back then.
that you feel that way, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Like, I imagine that like a good kicked shin
Yeah.
would probably, relieve some of that resentment. Does anybody else have any sense of the college at all, or is that kind of representative of the room, I guess? Yeah?
Pretty much.
Pretty much? Okay. Well, I'm glad to confirm that that is, in fact, the truth. That is to say, we have been accredited by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, or NEASC, for half a decade now. We just went through the reaccreditation process earlier this year, and it was a very successful and productive visit from the overseas team of accreditors. I was the chair of Standard 10 Public Disclosure, and feel really good about the likelihood of us maintaining our accreditation and expanding our range of opportunities that are recognized in the international context, particularly in North America. Now, what accreditation means is that in the context of NEASC, they're the body that evaluates the institutional legitimacy of Harvard, MIT, etc. So if you take algebra at the college, you can transfer. You take Soc, you can transfer. You take Psych, transfer. Like all the general education stuff that you'll find at almost any university around the world, that's what accreditation means. It means that the stuff that we do is legit. It's academic currency that can be spent in a global context. This is not hyperbole. This is not like a rhetorical flourish. Like, this is just the truth, like the measurable, accessible fact. And it's really exciting. Because it means that if the students come to the college, take classes, they are getting themselves that much closer to like full undergraduate degrees, step by step, credit by credit. And you can plot all this stuff out from day one. So that is the value of the opportunity that lives at the college. But the accessibility of the space is the thing that I'd like to emphasize as well. I know that Berkeley in particular has a really great relationship with the college, and we're so grateful for all the support that we get from the Berkeley family, particularly Mr. Burgess and his team at Student Services. A really, really great way to sort of pinpoint the nature of the connection that we have with the Berkeley is the success of the dual enrollment program. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. It's basically the opportunity for students that are still in high school, if they meet the academic requirements, to take college classes while they're still in high school. And there are, I want to think like 8 or 9 Berkeley students at this moment that are on track to be able to graduate Berkeley with their associate's degree, halfway to their degree. And they didn't have to pay a dime in tuition. They did have to cover the books. I apologize for that, because they're expensive. But not have to worry about the tuition is no small thing. And the kids have been successful in this regard. And not only have they been successful, but they've been really successful. We just, a couple months ago, the president, Dr. Green, she shares how the dual enrollment students were doing collectively as a cohort. And their group GPA in aggregate was higher than the GPA of the rest of the student body. So the high schoolers from Berkeley and from Cedar Ridge, from the public system, were grade for grade, class for class, doing better than the rest of the population. That's a big deal. I'm glad you clapped. Now, here, I will be slightly indiscreet. I will be slightly indiscreet. Did you want to share something, Barry? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you will say it, but the dual enrollment students will be able to transfer into their third year of university once they graduate from Berkeley. I mean, that's a big deal.
out the gate. And that means they can have their bachelor's degree by 20, master's by 22. And they didn't have to pay for the first half of that. Now, here's just a little small thing. And again, it's the indiscretion I mentioned earlier. It may seem a bit petty, but I don't care. In this instance, at least. We are getting more and more students from the private system. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with how it works, but the final chunk is the International Baccalaureate program for Warwick and BHS, and for Saltus they do APs at this point. And we're getting more and more students that are disengaging from that space at that point. So they're entering the college at the same age bracket as the dual enrollment students from the public system. And in aggregate, public kids are beating them too. I told you it's petty, it is. But it makes me really happy. It's a testament to what the public system can produce generally and what Berkeley is doing specifically. Again, this is not like hyperbole, this is not a series of rhetorical flourishes. Like, this is measurable, provable, knowable things. So if you ever have your faith shaken in what not just the Berkeley is capable of, but what it's actually doing, just remember that. They're beating the private kids pretty handily at the same point. And it makes me smile to say that. And I'm a Warwick Academy graduate. I was there when it was public. Because I'm old. Now, I say all that to say, I hope it's clear that the value of the college is clear and the accessibility of the space is there. The application process is incredibly simple. It's a 3-page document. It's less complicated than getting a cell phone contract. Seriously, it's like personal needs. Do you have any medical challenges we need to know about? That's kind of it. And then proof of citizenship, so we can charge the lowest possible tuition to the students that are of this place. And the transcripts from Berkeley, and yeah, just the one complicated thing. And this is the final thing I'm really hoping to emphasize. And it may seem like I'm, if you've heard me have any conversations on this subject in the past, it may seem like I'm being repetitive and even redundant. I hope very much that you're not interpreting it that way, because it is the number one impediment to students' immediate access to the good stuff at the college. That is to say, the computerized placement test, or the CPT. The CPT is what the college uses to ensure that the students are placed in the appropriate classes, right? Because we don't want to get them in classes that are disconnected from their skill set. We don't want them in stuff that's beneath them, because that'll be redundant and corny, right? Like a waste of time. We don't want them in classes that are beyond their skill set, because they'll flunk, and that's not good for anybody, not for them, not for us. It just doesn't make sense. So the CPT is about making sure that we place them properly, get them connected with the stuff that's in sync with them. But the only way that metric has any value is if the students approach it as though it has value. Because if they come in and they coast and disengage and don't really take it seriously, and I'm using this phrase because I've heard it, click anything, because it's boring, they're going to end up in classes that they do not need to be in. And we still, even though it's getting better every single testing cycle that we have, the overall results from the students generally, Berkeley in particular, continually get better. Despite that, there's still entirely too many that end up testing into the most remedial classes that are available. And when I say the most remedial classes that are available, I mean those remedial classes that are available. I mean classes that you are put in because the test indicates that you don't know how to carry the one, or what a paragraph is, right? And it's not because they don't know. This is, again, a knowable thing. You cannot graduate from this kind of space if that information is not something you covered a long time ago. Even if you weren't the strongest student in the world, you don't need to be taught what a fraction is, right? But entirely too many students still, again, less and less, but still too many of them end up placed in these classes. Now, again, we're getting better results on the back end because most of the time the students are able to take it again, and overwhelmingly they do better the second time around because they get it now. But sometimes timing and moving parts, and they're not able to take it again, and they get put in these classes, and it is incredibly frustrating, and they disengage, and then we don't see them for 18 months, right? And again, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that, because it is complicated, this transitional phase for young people. And if it takes them a little longer to figure out how to make all this stuff work, it's okay. Obviously, we would prefer it if they got it right the first time, but that is an unreasonable expectation, I think. And I'm sure that all of us, if we really examine our own histories, it took us a minute to figure all this stuff out too. Like, we didn't get it right the first time. So supporting them as best we can through that process is key, but it would be awesome if we could support them into not needing any extra grace. Because I swear to goodness, the vast majority do not require these remedial classes in particular. It's just not necessary. And the thing that we can collectively do, that you can do today to improve the likelihood that your student does proportionately well on the test, not disproportionately poorly, but it gets results that are genuinely reflective of their skill set and competency, is to just talk about the CPT in the same terms as you talk about the GCSE or the SAT. I'll put it this way. If your student is not, if you don't have the resources to get your student to the States as soon as they graduate, and the college is where you know they're going to go, the CPT matters more than the SAT in practical terms. Because if they graduate from Berkeley and they come to the college and walk out of there with a 3.3 GPA and 60 credits worth of material, they're fine. They can transfer to any university in North America, no problem. Again, this is not hyperbole, this is not rhetorical fluid. This is just the knowable facts of the situation. If the college is where your student is going to end up, the CPT matters as much as any other test they're going to take. This is a non-negotiable baseline fact. And the way that we can get them to take it seriously is if we take it seriously. If we talk about it in those terms. Because when they take it seriously, they knock it out of the park. Consistently. Now, we got students in the room, S2, 15, qualified for freshman English and college algebra. Because she took it seriously. 15, right? This is not complicated. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not complicated. It's an accessible path. And if we support the students effectively, I promise you, if we use the right language, I promise you that they'll be okay. So, I've said lots of things, as I tend to do. And I hope that I've helped. If anybody's got any questions, this would be a marvelous time to ask them. Mr. Burgess. Yes, sir.
Is there an app for that?
Yes, there's an app for that. Well done, you. The app is the official AccuPlacer app. It's made by the people that make the test.
Is there a cost involved in taking the CPT, and how do you sign up for it?
No, if you've applied, and we can sign up like now if you want. Yeah, I can totally help you with that. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any inquiries? Yes, ma'am.
What do you have for adults? If I wanted to change my career, if I wanted to broaden my horizons, what do you got for me?
The same range of things that are available for the traditional students, along with a bunch of different professional designations and certifications offered through our Professional and Career Education Office, or PACE. This ranges from bartending certificates to the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants designations that can take you all the way from an introductory certificate in accounting all the way up to a full CPA designation. We have the supply chain management organization that we just talked about with folks that do all the ordering, right? And of everything. How to do that more efficiently, more cost-effective manner, in a way that's in keeping with best practices in a global context. Being a place that is fundamentally dependent on imported goods just to get through the day, I think there's a bunch of great opportunities that exist in that field, and we have this new series of programs along those lines with that designation attached to it. But what I would like to emphasize is if you're minded to consider as a grown person doing the thing that makes you happy, like doing the thing that lights you up, because I don't know how to say this without sounding excessively corny, but yeah, no, I can't help it really. It's more of a constitutional thing. I am willing to bet that a lot of y'all have been very, very good at making a whole bunch of compromises for the sake of the people that you love for a very long time. That's the story of my parents. It's the story of my parents' parents. It has not so much been the story of my generation, and I think it's because of how actually, no, I'm too old to say that, but actually, no, I think like 80s babies and up, like, we were always told you can be whoever you want to be, you can do whatever you want to do, you can live the life that satisfies you the most as long as you put in the legwork. Like, you do not have to compromise on the big picture outcomes for your life. Whereas people just a couple years back, it was like, look, you got to get a stable job, don't matter if you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant to the conversation. Like, can it put food on the table? Can it cover the mortgage? Can it push the kids through school? That was the narrative for the generation that preceded mine, I believe. And I don't know that you're thanked often enough for accepting those limitations and providing this new set of freedoms for the people that you produce. But what I can tell you is that if you are minded to take your turn at this point, we can support you in that process. We have a really good example of that I can think of immediately. His name is Richard Powell. He's about to graduate, I believe, with his diploma in culinary arts, and he is 71. And there's two details about him in particular that are especially exciting. One of them is kind of annoying for one person. That is, he's getting better grades, as I understand it, than his granddaughter. She's kind of ticked about that. And also, as based on the last conversation I had with him, once he graduates, he'll be working at La Trattoria. Not washing dishes, not moving plates around, but as one of their line cooks.
Wow.
At 71. So when you think to yourself, maybe, and this is just from glancing at the room, and you're very, well-kept people, but I'm pretty sure nobody's 71 sitting there. Probably not. No. I don't think anybody's even close to that space. So if you're thinking about pursuing the thing that makes you happy, the thing that lights you up, and you think, oh, I've been out of school for too long, just remember Chef Powell, because he has made it work after his 70th birthday, and it is pretty cool to watch. I gotta tell you. So I hope that answers.
It did, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad. There was one other thing. Yes, please.
Yes. As we attempt to assist our youngsters by encouraging them to be independent and responsible, we work with them to register with Bermuda College online. Is that the best way to do it as opposed to actually coming over there physically? I mean, other than the CPT, which is obviously you have to sit.
Right.
For the most part, registering online would be the better option, you think?
Honestly, it's not as though one is better than the other. Applying online is completely fine. One thing I'd like to emphasize is the genuine lack of complication of this process, right? Like, if your student wants to be at the college, we can make it work. Even if they haven't filled out the application, we can make it work. They might get classified a little different, and their pathway to getting in those classes might be a little bit separate from the standard pathway, but there is nothing preventing them from doing it. Trust me. Like, I'll put it this way. And it's weird because I haven't figured out how to communicate some of this stuff in a way that's as accessible as I'd like. Because within the college bubble, some of the language is just self-evidently obvious. But if you're not in the bubble, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. I put it this way. Like, you don't have to be in a degree program to be a full-time student at the college. Now, for some folks, that might seem like, well, what you mean? Like, how could you be taking a whole bunch of college classes but not actually be in a degree program? You're registering for individual classes that will all contribute to any degree program that you join in the future. But, like, you don't need the one for the other. Like, you could conceivably be taking classes like a whole bunch of students have done for years and not be in any program. But then once you aggregate all the credits you're looking for, you apply to graduate, you go on that, later that week. So I say all that to say, if you want to apply online, that'd be great. And if you want to come in, that's fine too. But the point is, if the student wants to be at the college, they can be. There is no impediment to them making that happen. I promise you. Yes, sir.
What sort of timelines, like deadlines, are we looking at for the upcoming?
Well, the deadline to join a program for the fall to 2015 was May 1st, so Friday morning. But it's cool on two levels. One, a whole bunch of our students have already gone through the process. So most of them are cool, folded into the system in the traditional pathway. The ones that have not, it's still fine. As I say, like, you can register for and take any class that you are academically eligible for, regardless of whether you're in a program or not. Does not matter. So if they want to be there, we can take care of it. I promise you. Is that good? Yeah? All right. I'll go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
That was part of my question, so I'm going to go on a little bit more. And once you actually get in the course, finish, and you talk about accreditation, can you talk us through the process that the student has in order to get into the other schools? What does the college involve in as far as paperwork, transcripts, letters,
Right.
those types of things?
Okay. Well, there's different categories of schools. There are the schools that we have articulation agreements with and those that we don't. Now, the schools that we have articulation agreements with, what that means is, in practice, our credits are pre-approved by these institutions. So you don't have to worry about them transferring on any level at all. Like, you could act like a St. John's business administration bachelor program student while taking your first English class at the college. Because you will be, if that's where you want to go. Because those credits have already been approved and accepted by that particular school, and a whole bunch of other ones that we have articulation agreements with, including, this is slightly early, but I've seen the paperwork, so it's cool. It's a few stories above my head, but I've had the conversation, so it's cool. Again, it's indiscreet, but I can't help it. I don't know if y'all are familiar with SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design. It's like the baddest school in North America for creatives. So when students say they're interested in fashion design, or video game design, or film production, like, this is the school to go to do this work. Like, their graduates go on to work at Pixar, Xbox, and Sony, you know, and it's unremarkable. Like, it's just what they do. Which is the unremarkability of that level of constant accomplishment is really quite striking. They reached out to us, actually, to get an articulation agreement set up, because we've been sending our graduates of the art and design program their way for a few years, and the kids were doing really well, and it really worked, and they said, well, that's like Bermuda College, what is that? They didn't know, so they Googled, and then they visited, and they evaluated, and they have basically said we're parallel. So 2 years, I know, it's pretty great, right? So the agreement should be signed off in the next few months. I mean, I'm sure that the Madam Principal would know, like, in the academic spaces, sometimes, you know, molasses on a cold day. But it's happening, and the documents are there. It's just, everybody's got to get in the right room and pick up the right pen, kind of thing. But those are the places we have articulation agreements with, that pre-approval. Now, the places that we do not have articulation agreements with, that doesn't mean that our credits don't transfer there. It just means you got to go through the process. And in my limited time at the college, I can think of only 1 or 2 instances where the general education stuff didn't work. And it was for really relatively granular reasons that I honestly, based on my understanding, the other universities are kind of being arbitrarily dictated, to be honest with you. But the vast majority of the students have a smooth and successful transfer process. to universities throughout North America. And the way that we support them through that process is with our student services team. They help them identify the university, and in many cases, they have relationships or they have previous contacts, so they know who to talk to in the registrar's office to expedite the process. That's what they're for. Like, I'm kind of the intake guy to help simplify students' pathway into the college, whereas the student services team are there to help them transition into their next phase of growth. Because like, if a student comes to the college and graduates and moves on to a career, it's really exciting and we're happy about it. We're really excited when they keep going. So that's what the student services crew is for. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. She knew already, which she just wanted to tell you. There is one other, is there anybody else have any question?
The
Yes.
list of colleges that are accredited are on the website for those colleges?
The list of colleges we have articulation units.
Yeah,
for.
articulation.
Yes, absolutely. If you look on the website under admissions, on the left-hand side, there's an orange button that says download our catalog. I want to say page 63.
Wow, that was very detailed.
Yes. Sorry.
No, that was good.
I'm an odd duck. The one thing that I was hoping to share, and if, because I'm not sure if I'm talking too much.
You're fine.
Yeah? Okay, I'm glad. I don't have good self-awareness when it comes to that. But one thing I wanted to emphasize is it's kind of that bubble thing that I mentioned earlier, like within the post-secondary academic space. There are certain things that are like self-evidently obvious, but if you're not within it, it can seem really weird. That is to say, if, let's say, a student is interested in, what was one thing? Like forensic something, right? Because that's a lot of them say, forensic something. Psychology, pathology, forensic something. They'll look at the list of programs at the college and they won't see one that has forensic something in its name. So they'll think, well, they got nothing for me. When really, we got a couple of things that could work absolutely perfectly well. Say the Associate of Science program. You load that up with all the bio and chemistry you need to transfer into your undergrad program, your Bachelor of Science with specialization in forensic something, right? And it's something that, like, not, I try to emphasize to students, don't sweat the titles. Like the titles don't mean a heck of a lot. It's more the substantive class by class, credit by credit content of each program that matters. So if you don't see, say, aviation, that doesn't mean we don't have something for you. It just means we have a different name for it and some of the general education foundational stuff that is required to successfully pursue that kind of degree. And also, and this might sound like a small thing, but it gunks up the student's day, and again, this may sound excessively corny, but I can't help it. Like the stuff that gunks up the kid's day is like my principal priority to help dissolve. It's like the way I interpret my responsibility at the college is to just simplify their experience, to make it less complicated and clumsy and uncomfortable, because it's a really, really, really challenging emotional period for them, right? Like, it's such a big deal where they're transitioning into this huge thing that is post-secondary education. Yes, sir?
Fun question. And you started, I think, to touch on what specifically is your role and when could or should our students have contact specifically with you or your department?
Whenever you like. I don't know that you can ever really do it too early. I'm the recruitment officer, but the ham and eggs of it is there. I exist to help get people in the building in a way that makes sense to and for them in really practical terms, to just simplify the process. That's what I'm for. So if at any point you and your student are considering coming to the college, just call me. That, like, when it occurs to you, like that thought, just give me a call, and I'll do what I can to support you through that process. But the thing that I was mentioning about the beginning of the process for many students that I think we could do a better job at preparing them for is that many of them think that once they graduate high school, they never got to do the lame stuff ever again, right? They're like, I want to take psychology. Well, I'm going to take math. And it's like, cause you got to do a year of general education, no matter what you do. There's a year of English, year of math, some humanities, like history, and geography, and social sciences, and stuff that is completely disconnected with their area of focus. But it is inescapable. That is non-negotiable. And for some reason, they think when they get to college that it's all ice cream. And we get to the ice cream, and it's a lot of ice cream. All good ice cream. But there's Brussels sprouts at the beginning, right? And it's handleable, right? Like it's not beyond their ability to deal with, particularly if they come in with the frame of mind that this is just part of the process, right? So much of this is perspective. It's not a question of capacity. It's a question of perspective. Because if you think something is just unremarkable, it's just a natural part of the process, then it will happen. It will get looked after. But if you are shocked and confused and unprepared, it's so much more likely that unnecessary failures will occur. So I hope that we can do a better job of telling them, like, you're still going to have to do math. You're probably going to have to do a natural science. So get good at it now so that when you show up in that space, it's not that uncomfortable. It's not that complicated. But I swear this will probably be it. But it's an important point that I think may be reassuring for you, because it has been for me. And I've only picked it up over the past couple of, maybe month or so, really. I've been at the college for just over 2 years now, and I realized that, and I was excited because, oh great, the kids that I came in with, they're gonna graduate in like a 2-year program. Oh, I gotta get cupcakes. Like, oh, it's just good. Oh, it's cupcakes, right? Best way to celebrate. So I'm thinking of cupcakes in my head. So I go to the preliminary graduation list to count how many cupcakes I'm gonna need. And I'm thinking dozens, right? And I'm looking for names, and I'm not seeing the names of, my pumpkins. I'm like, what I got cupcakes I gotta give out. Who are these people? So I started looking for their individual records, and I'm seeing this one is like a year out from graduating, this is a semester, this 1 year and a half, and I'm like, what happened? What went wrong? How could these timelines be so off? Like, what are we doing wrong? What are the high schools doing wrong? What are the teachers doing wrong? Like, existential crisis for, 36 hours. But then, as ever, Google, my savior, because I want to find out more information to try and understand this thing better. And I found a bunch of studies that were aggregated, in particular in one Newsweek article published about 6 months ago, that made me feel a lot better and clarified precisely what the dynamics of this are. That is, in North America, so that's the States and Canada, 18% of post-secondary students, 18, graduate on time. Which is to say 4 out of 5 take longer than they absolutely have to. And this is not a bad thing. Not inherently, right? Because it syncs up really explicitly with our experience at the college. That is to say, I think 65% of the traditional students in particular changed their programs. Which means that they did a year in, say, business administration and realized I don't want to be an accountant. So they kind of got to start over a little bit, which adds time. Or they have a bad breakup, which at 19 will keep you bedridden minimum 3.5 weeks. This, I know. Trust me. This I know. Or they get a job and they start making a little money and they start appreciating the practicality of independence, set their own terms and the schedule in their life, and they just kind of disengage. Or they've been telling you, look, I want a break. I want a break. And you say, nope, go to school. And they go and they told you they want a break. And after 2 stinkers of semesters, you finally say, okay, I'm not spending any more money on this anymore. Right? What I'm hoping to communicate and sharing is that it's not as though any of those occurrences are laudable. I'm not saying they're desirable. I'm just saying it's part of their process. And it's all right. It's all right. It doesn't mean that they're inadequate. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're unusual. Frankly, if that doesn't happen, that would be weird. Statistically, right? Like if everything goes perfect, that would be weird. The hiccups are just part of their process. And I tell you, I've been thinking about it more and more. Like the structural unfairness. I can't think of a better way to do it, like systemically, but I don't know that, okay, I'll just lay it out. From birth to graduation, their lives are managed, right? Who they know, what they eat, when they sleep, where they go, what they are aware of. It's all kind of run for them. Like there are varying degrees of freedom within these parameters, but really, they're not in charge of much anything, right? And then, when they graduate from high school and turn 18, precisely when they have the least experience with the management of independence, we require them to be more responsible than they have ever been in their life. What do you expect will happen? Right? And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's just, they're gonna mess up. And it's all right. It's part of their process. And I've been really learning to get okay with that. Because my day-to-day experience, just today, it's like you failed prep bio. You have no reason to have failed prep bio. And there was a girl in the class who was really pretty. This is what he told me today. This is what I had today. And she was really pretty. And she sat too close. Every time you look left, yeah, it's just deafness. Just all he could just see. He couldn't hear anymore. He could just see. And getting angry about that, and yelling and saying you need to stop, you're wasting your life. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna fix anything, right? Like it's not a moral conversation. It's just what works versus what doesn't, right? And if it worked for him to be head over heels in love with a girl he's never exchanged more than 3 sentences with, despite her sitting 6 feet to his left 4 hours a week for 4 months, if that worked for him, then okay, that worked for him. And when something else works for him, we're gonna support him into that progress. But they are endlessly young and more than a little goofy, but just so bright and great, and they're gonna be okay. We just gotta, I think, give them as much grace as we can, because there's a lot of stuff they just don't know yet. And I know I sound so dusty saying these things. I know, but I'm not supposed to know this stuff. The only reason I know it is because I'm old. Right? This is not young people information. It's just not accessible. Right? No, this is not hearsay. This is lived experience. I got hair. I pluck them. I do. I'm embarrassed about it, but whatever. I'm gray. I'm going gray. And part of the going gray, I think the cause of going gray in some instances is learning more and more about these young people. But I tell you, like, I don't worry about them exactly. Like, I hope they'll be okay, but I don't really worry. Because they'll figure it out. I just hope they don't hurt themselves too much along the way. Like, don't break their hearts or, parts of their body or important pieces of their brain along the way too badly. But they will heal and they will be fine and they'll be all right. And the college exists to support them through that process. So thank you for listening.
We can have another round of applause for Mr. Dill. He shared some very wise wisdom for such a young gentleman.
32.
Yeah. If we can now have a few moments of your time for our principal so she can share any information that she has, and then we're almost done. As we started a little late, we'll finish a little past 6:30. Thank you.
Good evening, parents, and good evening, teachers, and good evening, students. I want to start off by saying thank you to Ms. Moran and the executive team, and to all of you. I believe you've had a good year. Attendance has been up, and parents have been, I think, more involved than I saw last year, so I'm very happy to see that. I want to start by kind of piggybacking on the Bermuda College presentation to share with you our most recent CPT results, the acuplacer exam that Dr. Dill was referring to. We had 18 students who took the test and who were successful in passing it. Now, these were all S2, right?
All S2.
They're all S2. Now, 13 of these students tested into freshman English, which means that they can take either freshman English or an assortment of courses that Bermuda College has identified would be beneficial for the students who test in to freshman English. I'm recommending that if they're currently in AP English on this campus, that they should take a different subject like psychology or history or whatever they might be interested in. That's the 13. The 5 have tested into the full-time program because they passed both math and English. That means that we have 5 more students who will be able to take courses towards their associate's degree, whereby when they complete the Berkeley Institute as S4 students, they will have both their high school diploma and their associate's degree.
Talk about it.
That's exciting news because this year we have 2 students who are doing that, and we've doubled the numbers. So hopefully we're on a roll.
Yeah.
And speaking of being on a roll, I talk about honor roll. Believe me, I didn't do that on purpose. But that had to be the next thing that I had listed here. We celebrated honor roll attainment last week. We had approximately 370 students who made the honor roll, and that's about 54% of our total population. And I'm going to give you a breakdown by year level. S1 is just about 40%. S2, 64%. Yes. S3, 55%. And S4, 73%. That's pretty exciting because we want our students to start strong and end strong. And for that S4 class, this is exciting news because graduation is next month. Can you believe that? I'm particularly happy about the S2%, it's 64%. That's 114 out of about 170 students on the honor roll. And that's important to us because we're finding a correlation between honor roll attainment and IGCSE, GCSE results. So that is very hopeful and positive and promising, and we'll see how that pans out for us. This time I will be celebrating Principal's Honor Roll students with 36 students, which is an increase over the last quarter when I had 24. So that deserves a round of applause. Last week we had a series of meetings for parents and children where students are failing one or more courses. And the purpose of that meeting was to alert everyone, parents in particular though, to where their children are and to provide some strategies as to what can be done to improve their standing. And I'll tell you that the basic problem that we see across the board is not ability, has little to do with ability, has to do with the word consistency. When I look at transcripts, commonly I will find that a student will have a series of A's and B's and a series of F's. The F's for not completing assignments, not handing them in. I would tell anyone that the key to being successful here at the Berkeley Institute is to simply be consistent. Just do the work. And even if you miss something, it's not too late. Go to the teacher, get the work, do it, and hand it in. And that's basically the message that we gave to the parents who were here last week, that we just need for the children, their sons and daughters, to make up whatever's missed, and let's forge ahead. I really do not want students to have to repeat a year level, and I do not want them to have to attend summer school if they don't have to. At this point, I hope you all agree, especially with these economic times, that we should be taking full advantage of the, in quotes, free education, right? And not have to spend money on summer school. Summer school has gone up. It's $100 for a course, $150 for 2 courses, and if you do the Keystone program online, it is now $250. I think it is entirely worth it to get after our young men and young women, to help them to just make up whatever's missed. There's no shame in that, no harm in that. Let's just get the work done. Along the same kind of lines, April 21st to 24th, we had a day at the Berkeley. And that is the time frame for us when we invite in our rising S1 students. So we had 185 students from the middle schools who will be full-time Berkeleyites come September. It's an exciting time for them and for us. They were paired with mentors from our S3 and S4 class who were quite thrilled to be able to show off what it means to them to be a Berkeleyite, to show off their school, to talk about their teachers and their classes. The students went to classes with them, so they had the opportunity to experience a class firsthand and to participate. It was great, and they really learned a lot. Great presentations from student services in regards to making the grade, what it means to pass courses and to have high standards. They heard from other students what it means to be successful here, how you go about being successful, even from students who may have had a rocky start but have turned things around. And honestly, those presentations were really powerful. Yasser did an excellent presentation on behalf of the S1 class, really wonderful. So that's exciting. So we're sad somewhat to see our S4s go, but we're getting ready to welcome in the next class of S1. So it's an exciting time. As Ms. Moran mentioned, exams are right around the corner, like tomorrow. The IGCSEs will start. I believe that the students have been sufficiently briefed, and you probably will too as well. I would just say, yes, please make sure they get enough rest, make sure that they have their breakfast, make sure that they are well nourished, talk to them about their concerns, give them time to study, encourage them to study in between the exams, and at this point, they just need to get in there and do the best that they can. Just a few other little minor points, minor but not minor. If you were here last week, Thursday, you witnessed our IGCSE drama production of Chicago. Was anyone there? Yes, and it was wonderful. Our arts department, I had a conversation with some prospective parents, and I was talking about, asking them about electives, what they might be interested, what their children might want to do, and the young lady mentioned something about drama, and I said, oh, we have an excellent drama department here at the Berkeley Institute, and the mother turned to me and said, oh yes, I've heard it's the best on the island. So it's nice to have that reputation, and I believe that it holds true, especially after you see the kinds of productions that we're able to generate. We are in the process of prefect selection for next year. We have a list of, I think it's about 79 students who are prefect hopefuls, and they're engaged in the process of trying to make the grade. So if you are the parent of an S3 student, please encourage them. I know, Jordan, you're on that list, right? Yeah, okay. I want to also mention that we just learned that the Department of Corrections holds an annual essay competition, the Commissioner's Essay Competition. And the students went to the cabinet grounds this morning to find out their fate, whether they won or not. And I'm pleased to say, it's no surprise to me, of course, that the Berkeley Institute had 2 out of the 3 top essays. First prize went to Kayla Tucker, second prize to Dejan Taylor, and then the second runner-up was Saltis. But anyway. And honorable mentions for 6 other students: Deja Tucker, Tajay Webb, Tajay Hunt, Imani Smith, Kyoki Rayner. Kyoki, which class is it? That was right? Oh, okay. And Ashley Belgrade. So that's really wonderful that our students are doing so well. And honestly, when there are competitions, I'm sure you've noticed that the Berkeley students tend to win. Yeah. I want to encourage you to purchase a ticket if you can for the Green and Gold Ball, which is on May 16th at the Fairmont Hamilton Princess. I don't think they've changed the name of it yet, Green Brothers, but that's where they did change it? Oh, okay. So yes, that's on May 16th. I encourage you to please purchase tickets and attend if you can. The other thing that I would like to extend to you is this message. We have some of the most dedicated and hardest working teachers and faculty and staff on the island. They're excellent at what they do. But I also think that this has been an unusual year. As you know, we've lost time because of the hurricane and industrial action. The school has had its share of grief. We've lost 4 students, 2 current and 2, recently graduated. And in addition to that, we have teachers who are dealing with their own medical emergencies for themselves, for their family. And I would just implore you to reach out in support of teachers in a positive way. If you can send them an encouraging word when you interact with them, something about their personal care and care for them the way that they care for your children, it would really be a beautiful and wonderful gesture of support and goodwill. And with that, I think I am done. Excuse me? For S4?
The fashion show.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Yes, because you already know that the fashion show, the wonderful annual fashion show, is this week, Friday and Saturday, in the cafetorium. Our students have been working diligently, and if you're here late in the evening, like I am, I can hear them practicing. I can hear the music anyway from my office. I know that they're there until very late, and it's going to be great. Don't miss it. It's really going to be a treat. And with that, I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tweed. I only have 3 very short things, and then we can go. Today, our PTSA teacher rep Ms. Wilson James sent out a survey through Ms. Esther Trott, our data administrator, to find out what works and what doesn't work for parents and how we can get more parents in this room. If you could just take 5 minutes, and it doesn't take any longer than that because I did it this afternoon, and just answer them. Whether you're going to be a returning parent next year or you're one of our S4 parents and we're saying a very sad goodbye to you, it will help the executive coming in next year to support the parents better if we know what is needed from you and how we can communicate and help you. That's 1. 2, your current executive is here until the AGM of October. Next school year. So if anything comes up, if you are a returning parent, if anything comes up between now and the AGM, you can reach out to us at Berkeley Institute PTSA at Gmail, and we're still here for you. Even though this is our last general meeting, the executive will be meeting for the rest of the year, and we're still here for you. And the last thing is, don't forget to get everybody to watch this on www.barclaybda.com tomorrow after 12 o'clock. Might be a little bit longer because it's longer than an hour, so the upload might take. So just go ahead and check out that website tomorrow and encourage any parents that were not able to be here to do that. And I want to say thank you for your support this year, and have a wonderful rest of the year and summer. Don't forget to sign in. We don't have the official sheets, but put your name and your student's name. Also, if you do not have access to email, we do have a few printed out surveys if you want to take 5 minutes and just tick the boxes, but with intention, like we're trying to get our students to do the CPT at college with some intention. It would be greatly appreciated if you can help with the bake sale car wash also this Saturday. See me. Thank you for staying that extra few minutes tonight. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.